I mean, I'm in support of strikers if they have a justifiable cause for striking, and I think maybe pay and pensions and conditions are the traditional way the trade unions have to go about things. So in some ways, they've got a legitimate kind of cause for action. I think that the situation now is slightly different, where actually the trade unions have almost absented themselves from the discourse for the last 2 years of the pandemic and kind of walked away from lecturers' what the lecturer's true job should be, which is teaching students face-to-face. And even only last December, Joe Grady, who runs the University College Union, insisted that lecturers go back to online learning from December. We'd still be at home now if the trade unions had their way, and I think that's an absolute disgrace. So that alienation of the students from their lecturers and from their courses actually come back to bite lecturers on the backside, because actually students now, rather than actually building a solidarity in the universities, students are saying we want to have not only our fees reduced, but we want all the pay that is docked from the lecturers on the days that they take off. We want you to give it to us to maybe kind of buy us some kind of well-being courses and all the rest of it. So that's what's really going on, and I think that the unions are almost coming to the end of their useful life on this type of thing. The Tories, I think, have got a bit of a cheek because they're complaining about the unions, saying that they should go back to face-to-face teaching at the time when they actually were at the forefront of demanding that the student experience would be destroyed by online learning. Robert Halfon himself said that students should have a money-back guarantee. That's from the Commons Education Select Committee. So that idea that students for a long time have been treated as consumers, so it's like a supermarket of certification rather than a seat of learning. That's what universities have become. And I think that once you treat students like consumers, then suddenly you've destroyed that whole notion as to what an education is genuinely for. So on every level, there's a kind of collapse of belief and a collapse of solidarity within the unions. And in some ways, it's quite a good thing. And I think maybe we should start rebuilding something from grassroots up.
Alex?
Well, if you take everything that Austin said and put it together, it equals for me that this is the wrong time to strike. And there may well be many points that people want to make about their pay and conditions and so forth, but consider the experience of young people who are not going to get their time back. And there are third years in university who have hardly known in-person teaching at all. At all. If you've got a point, it's a bit like when people go, railway people go on strike at Christmas, because they know that's the time when people are going to pay most attention. I get it, but for heaven's sake, these students have had a wretched time. It's so easy to think of, the snowflake generation or whatever. Actually, they're diligent, they work hard, they worry more about getting into the workplace than people of my generation did when it sort of fell through university ourselves. I've got a great deal of sympathy for people who've had a really tough 3 years. And to think that they're finally coming back to in-person teaching and their professors strike and withdraw, it's just a completely wrong time to do it.
Joe?
Well, I have to say I agree with Alex, which we're in great danger of agreeing with each other. But I also think, Austin's wider point about the fact that universities have become, students are bums on seats, they're customers. We know that some courses aren't really up to much. It's about the numbers of people that you get in. And we know that certainly, for people who are doing science courses, they've had a terrible lack of laboratory experience. Yep. So even people who've been doing sort of medical degrees, they haven't been able to get the laboratory or the sort of the on-site experience in order to go out and work as students, doctors in hospitals.